Okay, hello everybody. Today we are going to practice with the new command rotation. So I am creating a new project, rotation practice. So as default, this project will be empty. Okay, so here, as usually, we are creating the all necessary items. So I will use our previous application as the reference. Remember, we will have to create all of the necessary files first in order to make our application. Okay, this is our new application, which has name rotation practice. Okay, so here we will need to modify our Java files, Java classes here accordingly to our graphical application. We did it few times, so I will just skip that moment, and finally I will come back when all files will be fixed. So for example, here we can try from our previous application, so just simply copy all of that stuff what is here. Like this. Okay, so I will stop, and after a moment I will come back. Okay, we can do it together. Okay, so I will need to create one extra project. So here new Java class my GL surface view. Okay, so here this is another our project. So here the problem is the renderer is not here, but we will need to also extend to the GL surface view. So here extend GL surface view. So the renderer, my GL renderer, is not exist here yet. We will also have to make the GL renderer also. New Java class, and here my GL surface, my GL renderer, my GL renderer. So as we know, that my GL renderer has quite many different files, different projects. So here, of course, like some stuff will be changed. So the more important here is implements. So here we need to use the implements. Implements GL surface view renderer. Okay, this part will be different. So the next what we need to do here is to create a class which will build our rotation object. So this project was about this house, sun and moon. So here we are going to create another class, and we can call it rotation practice. the stuff from our house. It's maybe not really good idea, but anyway. The first I will copy all of necessary libraries. So inside of our class we are going to create quite many different objects. Okay, so this is our house and sun, moon. Okay, I will just copy all of it here. Later I can change. So this is our house. This is our house. So this is our circles. So basically I will need half circle because this is the good example for our rotation. Okay, let's skip one more circle as it is, and I will need one triangle. So sun and moon I don't need. Okay, colors. Okay, let's keep these colors. Okay, I will don't need sun. So use okay. Okay, so here also we will need to make one more class. Rotation practice. So in the rotation practice I am going to place my objects here. So I will need one circle. So and buffer. Okay, so one buffer I will call house buffer. Another one will be the circle. Like two colors. Then just circle. Okay, so here the first we are going to use the circle buffer in order to just place one simple circle in our screen. I will not change anything, it's the same as was here. Okay, circle 2 I don't need. Okay, half, that part is necessary. Half 2, okay, buffer. Okay, this is our house, so that's why I will also keep it here. Okay, so here will be the circle, two colors. So again I'm just keeping the stuff from the previous code, and here where is my half? Okay, this is the coordinate. here should be our circle half one buffer. Okay, it should be top colors. So here we need two buffers. So for the first half, I can call it like half one. Dash half one and half two. Half two. Okay, so place it here. So the second half. So here will be the second half. This is another buffer. So place all of that information here. And this is our second half. Half one, yeah. Okay, nice. Now this one. So here is our house buffer. So I modified a little bit. Okay, so now we define all of necessary buffers and coordinates here. So now we are going to place our draw function. From the position, okay, up to here. So this is our draw function. So inside we are going to display. So here we display the first circle. Yeah, I will not do it. So the first. I want to display I will draw my house. So this is the house. So as long as I just copy that code from here, so you just need to change it to the house buffer. Okay, so that part will just display our house. Okay, what's wrong? Okay, problem. Okay, this part is also has to be here. Okay, let me first check the mistake. Okay, so here I forgot one part, this one. So we will have to create graphics in the buffer. So here when we're creating the buffer, so the last operation I should create the graphics. And program is our OpenGL object. So see here there is no error, and I also fix the path here. So I add this line. So add the object of the rotation practice class here. Also create that object in the onSurface created. Yeah, that's all. So here we are drawing that mRotation practice class, which is written here. Okay, so now let's try what will happen. Phone. So it's going to build our application right now. Yeah, so here where is the rotation practice? We can see just the house. We cannot see anything else because I didn't draw anything else yet. So what I want to draw here is the object, the circle, which contains the two parts, like two half. So actually here we already create our two half circle. Actually here is supposed to be second half. So this second half. And now I will need to draw this half circle. So actually we already have this part, so I will just copy the part which is related to drawing the second half. So now I will place it here. So I just need to modify our buffers like circle first half and circle second half. Okay, this is our circle which contains the one part, one half black, another half red. So the last classes we discussed how to create this circle. So here should be half one, so here should be half two. Okay, now see what's happened. Okay, this is our ellipse which has two colors. Now, okay, so now we're actually coming to the things, the stuff what we need to discuss about the rotation. Assume that I want to rotate our like two colors ellipse. So what to do? How to rotate this ellipse? Actually, where is the special commands? So I already copied that commands here, and we are going to use it to rotate our object. The first, like one by one, this part, identity. So we will first have to identify two matrices. Basically, this part we already did, M translation. So now I am going to rotate my I want to rotate my object. Okay, so the first I will have to create the M rotation matrix. So in our code here we do have our rotation matrix. We do have matrix scratch, translate matrix, and here I am going to create the rotation matrix. Rotation matrix. Okay, rotation matrix. So translation will be not used yet, but later we can implement it also. So now let's come back to our code. So now rotation matrix will be set up. Okay, how does it work? The first I will identify my rotation matrix, which is associated with the coordinate what we already have. Now I want to rotate. See here the matrix set rotation M. So I will modify this M rotation matrix according to this degree. So remember, this is our angles, like our coordinates. So I am going to rotate this circle over the some angle. So here it's like 40%. Let's make 15%. The 15 degree. Remember the point, the 0 point is here. I am going to rotate according to this 0 point. So basically this circle will move to some angle left or right, depends like what kind of angle I am setting here. So this is my rotation. So in the scratch will be the command related to our I will need one more command also. So I will need to implement this new scratch. Stop scratch. I'm using the scratch. No, I'm using the MVP matrix. Okay, so here again, in order to implement that move, so the MVP matrix will have to multiply by the rotation matrix. So in the new coordinate matrix scratch will be implemented here as the GL function. Okay, that part we actually used. Instead of set rotation M, we use the translation matrix. Okay, so in here assume that I want to again draw my two color circle. Just see what will happen. So here, like, draw again two color ellipse. Okay, so just to see what will happen. So nothing changed. I just add the same code here. Again, draw this half 1, half 2. So see what's happened. So the first circle is located here. Okay, see what's happened. According to this point, I rotate my screen left and right. See, basically here I can see like two ellipses. Why that ellipses did not rotate according to the special points? Because that point is not in the center of this ellipse. That point is here. Like my ellipse is moved according to the center of ellipse. So if I want to rotate my ellipse on the 90 degree, so basically I will have to change quite a lot in my code. So the first, as long as the center of this ellipse is not 0, 0, we will need to change that path first. How to do that? Actually here, when we set up our, where is half? Yeah, this is our half. See the center. This is our ellipse center. And as default, the x was 0, y was 0.7. We will have to create all of them 0. Yeah, same here. So if I will set up both number 0, so it means that my ellipse will be here. And now if I will rotate this ellipse, so the ellipse will finally change. Okay, so see what will happen if I will modify that point to 0 here. Again, I just change one number. So what will happen? Okay, so actually, yeah, it's difficult to see because of the house. Okay, maybe we can just modify the screen. Where is window? Okay, window. 7, 4. Okay, this is the last 4 vertices. Last 4 vertices. It's here. 0, 3, 0. Okay, I just want to see what will happen with our ellipses. Okay. So now what we can see, okay, our house looks not really great, but now we can see like 2 different ellipses. Both of them written, but now see that the rotation path is going through the center of ellipse. It's not like moving our ellipse outside of the center. So now if I will set up like 90-degree here in my rotation path, where is my rotation? Okay, so here if I will set up like 90-degree, I finally can see the cross, the 2 ellipses which is cross one against each other. Okay, something like this. So we also can combine like translation and modification. For example, I want to place these 2 ellipses here. What do I need to do? So I will need to translate my coordinate in some point here. See that in my program I only code this ellipse. So if I want to move this ellipse somewhere around this screen, so I can like simply translate my coordinate first. So if I want to rotate this ellipse, okay, so for this I will just delete the second ellipse. Okay, I am going to delete the first one. I delete the original ellipse, so now I do have only the vertical one. So and assume that I want to move this ellipse from here to here. Okay, I will use like 45-degree. So just see what's happened here. Yeah, I rotate my ellipse on the 45-degree. Okay, so and it's located in the 0. So now I want to move it outside of our house. How to do that? See that I already implement the rotation. So what we can also do here, I can implement the translation. Okay, so over the x I will translate 0f and y is 0.6f. Okay, so basically I translate coordinate, but what I did, I simply modified my translate matrix. So in order to skip any error, I am going to like identify my mTranslate matrix according to the real conditions, like the coordinate condition written on this certain path. So now, what did I do? First, I implement the M rotation matrix over the 45 degree. Okay, nice. After that, I initiate my translation matrix over the 0, 6, like move my center from here to here. Now I need to implement that modification. So what I'm doing? So the first, I am going to multiply. See here, the translation is going first. My scratch will be the multiplication between MVP matrix, which is coming from the beginning of that code, and mTranslate matrix, basically the move from 0 to some point. Okay, and after that I am multiplying. We'll copy this line. So here, like I will use second. So see. So that stretch will be multiplied with my rotation matrix. And that stretch 2 we will need to implement here. So the stretch 2 I will just need to kind of initiate in the beginning. Okay, so here I don't have stretch 2. So here should be stretch 2. Okay, yeah, this is our modification. Okay, what's happened here? We first identified the matrix mTranslate and mRotate matrix. After that, I modified my mRotate matrix over the 45 degree. I also like translate my coordinate from 0, 0 into the 0, 0, 6. So basically the center come here. Okay, now I'm implementing that modification. My stretch matrix will implement only translation, but stretch 2 is the multiplication between this stretch, which is already translated, and M rotation matrix. So together they are giving me the stretch 2 matrix. In this line, I am implementing this modification over our coordinate, over our program. So now, if I will implement this, we'll launch this code. So basically, our ellipse should come up. See? So ellipse is became here. Now, how to move our ellipse, left or right? So here we already like implement some translation. So the translation is always 0, 0, 6. Basically, instead of 0, 0, 6, I can like move my that center according to the two coordinates, x center, y center. X center, y center is identified in my code. So, and it is again like 0, 0, 6. It's basically the same point what we already made. But okay, so here I will also center. Okay, so dx center 0, 0, 1. So I want to move my center so in the positive direction. So positive direction is here. So the ellipse should go this way. Okay, and as we did before, so here I'm going to modify my coordinate x center equal x center plus dx center. Okay, good. And let's also implement the condition x center became bigger than 0f. Okay, so dx equal minus dx. And one more time, so when the center is became center bigger than 1, change to minus. If center is less than minus 1, change to minus center. Okay, so the circle has to go here and here. So again, what we did, like we initiate. Okay, so we can see it's basically going like left, right, left, right. Okay, now what if I want to make the rotation of this ellipse, like, because here I just set up the constant angle, so the angle is always 45 degree, but assume that I want to rotate this ellipse according to this angle. See here, the 45 is our angle. So assume that instead of 45, I will use some variables angle. So and we can do the same as we did for our center. So the first I will, like my angle, default angle is 0. My D angle will be like 0.5. So and the gap, when it's rotating, the gap will be 0.5. Okay, if it's small, like we can change. So now see the angle, default angle is 0, and I can basically modify my angle according to the D angle. And I can do it in the same place where I'm modifying my center. Okay, so here. Angle equal angle plus D angle. Okay, so now my ellipse will rotate. Not only move left and right, it will also do some kind of rotation. Okay, see, it's start rotating. Okay, that's all, because it's almost 40 minutes. So the next lecture we will kind of discuss more about how to implement like rotation of few different objects, because here there is just one house which is like untouched, and just one object which is flying and rotating. Okay, good luck.